gentlemen.
Uh-oh.
It's time for the Early Bird Special. Bringing you the best stories from the world of sports and sports entertainment. Now, here are your hosts, Sparky and Burdick.
Welcome to the Early Bird Special. I'm Chris Burdick. Sparky not with us, taking a much-deserved day off after helping some people move yesterday, amongst other things. Obviously helping me out with the stream as well. However, KG is with us, and there's plenty of sports to talk about. A lot of NFL stuff happening on this Sunday, so we had to get down to it. Plus, I mean, there's a lot going on in the NBA with playoffs right around the corner. And of course, if Kimball's in the building, we got to talk WWE and maybe a little AEW. Maybe I'll give him like 5-10 minutes to unload on what he thinks is wrong with the AEW right now. Because I'm not going to lie to you, my friend, as much as I am enjoying Harley Cameron's evolution in the game, her debut last night of her finishing move, it's got to be one of the worst finishing moves I've ever seen in my life. I know it's not what it was supposed to look like. I'm sure it was messed up, but I mean, we'll get into that later though. Let's save that for the very end. That's what we call a teaser.
I'm trying to. Yeah,
I know.
It's good to see you today, Chris.
It's good to see you too, my friend.
Good to see you, man.
And if you guys are, we hope you guys are having a great time. Hope you guys joined us for our stream of WWE 2K25. There's gonna be plenty more of that coming. I think we're gonna start doing that a little regularly on the weekend.
I gotta get on the creative player and lock in.
Brother, I need you in there with us. The island is fantastic.
I seen that you made Red Hood in that.
I'm
trying.
I thought that was cool. And that was not planned whatsoever. I want people to know
dig it. It looked like Red Hood in the Wyatts. So that was a good cross.
I liked it.
Yeah. Anyway. And that would fit.
Yes. So go check that out. That is on our YouTube page right now. But also look out for more lives across the weeks and to come. I'm sure I'll jump into other video games as well. I love horror games, so we'll see how that goes. Especially since we'll be doing movie reviews and stuff. Maybe we'll jump into some of those as well. We'll do some live movie reviews with you guys. That'll be a lot of fun. But we have way too much sports to talk about to here and meander and all of that. Let's start in the NFL because all of this is breaking today and all of this is really getting crazy. Literally just minutes ago, Josh Allen, quarterback for the Buffalo Bills, signs a record-setting 6-year, $330 million deal to stay in Buffalo, $250 million guaranteed.
Run that back. What were those numbers again?
$330 million over 6 years, $250 million guaranteed for the Buffalo Bills star. Well-deserved, in my opinion. Arguably the only player on that offense that can actually be consistent week in and week out. But the only question that I have going forward, and I'm sure that's popping in your head too, Mr. Kimball, being a Niner fan and having to deal with all of this, trying to figure out how you guys are going to pay your quarterback.
Man,
how are you going to pay somebody else to come in and help the man?
I don't think you can at that point. I
don't think you can either.
That's where you got to go in-house and train your backup, train your secondaries and third strings to really want this big money contract incentive. This is something that all players, all people that play sports dream of when you want to lock down something that, especially $250 million guaranteed. We're talking eradicate homeless money. We're talking about generationally changing money right there. So, and this is not just paid off of potential. He's put up the numbers. He deserves it, most definitely, especially in a place like Buffalo. So, I say that in comparison to how I feel about my Niners. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. We've been to the big game, but we've never been able to bring home the big ring, so to speak. And thus we're seeing this potentially with Buffalo in their last couple of outings in the last few seasons, and well-deserved to him. But this creates the luminary shadow of achievement, the brass ring, so to speak. How do you compare all these other contracts to quarterbacks that are coming up for negotiations during this offseason right now? This puts a lot of team organizations' backs up against the wall.
That's what I'm saying.
Or in a tough spot. Now, with the Niners, shit.
You guys may be looking at a $300 million deal with Brock Purdy.
And honestly,
do you think that's deserved, though? Do you honestly, as a Niner fan, believe
honestly, look.
After losing Deebo Samuel last week as well to Washington, don't forget that. You're losing pieces already.
Yeah, this is what I'm about to say here. We've had a nice second wind, so to speak, after the whole Kaepernick incident and the attention that was brought to the franchise.
Really never fell off. It was just a bad look media-wise
for the franchise.
Oh, absolutely.
And now you see what Kaepernick was talking about. A lot of players are just doing, and nobody's getting reprimanded about nothing. So now that we've moved past this as a fan base, let's keep football. Let's keep a lot of things out of it that kind of got injected into it that soured a lot of people from watching it consistently or feeling the sense of nostalgia that you get from either you played it or you watched it with a family member. The NFL is ingrained in our culture. So with all that being said, man, the Niners did stay consistent, but lost a little bit of steam along the way, but still stayed in high rankings. In high rankings consistently, you could say there few of the top teams that go to the bowl or in their playoffs win their division as much as the Niners have in these last few seasons. I'll definitely say that. But with losing pieces and Purdy, yes, he deserves big money contract, but not as big as Josh Allen. And I say that with all due respect. All due respect, man. You know what I mean? Because
he's brought you guys upon the precipice of winning a championship already. But again,
he deserves big money, guaranteed.
But how big though? Do you think? Like personally,
not
you're gonna
point,
have to anywhere in the $200 to $250 million deal.
We're looking at crippling the rest of our options to bring in somebody else that could be an accessory or a weapon or an integral part of our future offense. You know what I'm saying? So absolutely. I would hope that the negotiations would be in a favorable topic or range for them financially to where they can say, look, we can give you this much guaranteed big money, blah, blah, blah. We know we're going to have incentives in your contract as it goes along. But how about this? If you take just a smidget less, we could bring in somebody that's a superstar wide receiver or an additional running back, or maybe even a fucking tight end that's, the next Gronk. Who knows? But we still need integral pieces on that offense and defense to continue to perform at a high level for like a top tier team to be, portrayed as the Niners. They're a legacy franchise, man. They're fucking old as shit, but still popping. You know what I'm saying? So it's difficult for me, honestly, to remove my personal feelings about how I feel about being a fan of the franchise lifelong. And also still have a professional opinion that would kind of sway my personal feelings. But when I look at it through a business lens, you got to make some financial adjustments or everybody's going elsewhere, because all you've done on the Niners, and this is a great thing, it showed like we are top tier players. So if shit don't work out here, I can go work somewhere else and be fine. I can be fine. So, that's
you almost lost Brandon Ayuk last year on that exact moment. But
see what I'm saying?
At this point,
anybody would take Ayuk. Anybody. Like, real talk.
And most teams would actually make him a wide receiver one. Now he is your wide receiver one, I would assume, going forward, if you didn't see him that way to begin with, coming off of an incredible injury. But we'll see how that is. But you guys now have to deal with another signing that happened today. Davante Adams, former Jet, is now headed to L.A. to be with the Rams and Sean McVay, and a returning Matthew Stafford on a 2-year, $46 million deal. That, in my opinion, is going to propel the Rams back into a pretty steady contender for their champion, or at least the NFC West title. I mean, the Niners are obviously the leader, I would say, at the moment. The Cardinals, jury's out. I have to see them. And it looks like Seattle is unloading absolutely everybody. So I would assume they're going to be at the bottom of the barrel of the league this year, not just even the division for you guys, but the league. But this move, Mr. Kimball, I think is a much bigger move than people are going to take credit for, because Davante has only really played with quarterbacks that he has known and has chemistry with. Now, obviously Aaron, he had grown with and created something there, but they became very, very close, and it has already shown that it is not something that carries over to other teams. But whether you believe or not that Aaron Rodgers is playing at 100%. However, at this point in his career, could Davante Adams finally make that turn once again to become a top running or wide receiver, if not the top wide receiver in the NFL, with a quarterback like Matthew Stafford? I say yes, because we've obviously seen Matthew Stafford take receivers like Cooper Kupp and various others and make them absolute stars. Puka Nacua being the other one, obviously. But what say you?
When you have a quarterback with that type of skill, experience, accuracy. All that needs to be developed is the chemistry and timing. And when you're in peak performance with athletes that really know how to focus in, as we've seen over the years, it doesn't take long for that chemistry to mesh, match up, and meld to have a consistent 1-2 punch threat down the field. This is
and remember, technically, they haven't got rid of Cooper Kupp at all. They could
at
have
all.
3.
Yeah, and
it could be Puka Nacua, Davante Adams, and Cooper Kupp if they decide to keep Cooper. But the entire entire locker room believes he's
that receiving core alone is a viable threat to anybody. Yes, to absolutely. Anybody. It's gonna run your defense ragged. It's gonna stretch them out, and it's gonna burn them every time you want to do a big play. Now that big play may not come up with a lot of yards, but the consistent repetitiveness of different plays in that measure is what is kind of working right now with this fast-paced style offense that the NFL likes to showcase.
Well, that Sean McVay really has been the prototype to create as well. Everybody's really been trying to figure out how to mimic Sean McVay's entire playbook in many other ways. But
it's very innovative to see people spin and take on it, especially with coaches now. You don't see too many of these coaches waste their players' talent and abilities as much as you would used to. Okay. And I say that
at least good coaches.
Yes. I say that to give examples to, if you have a weapon, use it as much as you can. Some will be cerebral, coy, or even menacing with their offensive threats. That's how you build a good player. You get a good brand behind them. It's your star players is what I'm saying. Now, where you take this, I'd have to say acclimation of this play style and how it's moved into the NFL, more so on the coaching aspect. You see a lot of these offensive coordinators becoming head coaches a lot faster these days, is what I'm getting to, because of this play style and how they look at the game offensively these days, more so than they did even 10 years ago.
You're absolutely right. And honestly, at this point right now, I think that this may have been a move as well from the front office of the LA Rams to potentially keep Sean McVay there longer.
Most definitely. Why would you give up Sean McVay?
I mean, well, no, not to say they were going to ever give up Sean McVay. That's not exactly the point I was going for. It's more of Sean is flirting with the idea of moving on, obviously, from coaching. He's at the time where potentially maybe this is it. Maybe he wants to retire, maybe move on to something else, like commentating. I know Pat McAfee has been a very outspoken person trying to get Sean McVay in a booth rather than just coaching. And I think
his analytics and observation of the game, his breakdown from a commentary position. Yes, exactly. It's like
you pair him with
Tom Brady and Pat McAfee. I'm watching that game just for the commentary alone.
Absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. I think that this is the next step for Sean McVay, obviously. But I think this move was a move to potentially entice the LA Rams, the LA Rams to entice Coach Sean McVay to say, hey, maybe stick around for a couple more years. I know last year wasn't exactly what we thought, but we were one play away from beating the Super Bowl champion and potentially being the Super Bowl champion. Because I'm honestly, had anybody played the Chiefs that day, you probably would have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs. Not saying that the Kansas City Philadelphia I'm sorry, not saying Philadelphia Eagles are bad at all. They were probably the best team in the NFL. And we're
definitely the meanest.
Absolutely the meanest.
Definitely the meanest of last season, bro. Definitely.
Day, like Kansas City was flat. They didn't look like Kansas City. They didn't play like Kansas City. It was not their day.
They went out to the Shaker Club the night before, man. They had a little too many wings and pints, bro. You know, they were still full off the wings last night.
Magic City first.
Yeah, they got the wings at Magic City.
And
my God.
Anyways, yeah, that's I feel like a very good move in the terms of the future of the LA Rams. I think this is going to benefit them going forward. Now you're still going to have to handle who's your quarterback after Matthew Stafford, because I don't know how many years Stafford's got left. Not again saying that he is playing poorly at all, but more time comes for us all kind of a thing. So, and around the corner is retirement for not only Matthew Stafford, but Aaron Rodgers and a lot of these other guys looking forward. Aaron might be this year for all we fucking know, but I guess we'll see as this entire NFL offseason continues. We'll get some more of that as it develops. Let's move on to a little bit of NBA, though, because this broke out in the middle of an LA Laker game that I thought was pretty interesting on Thursday night, if I'm not mistaken, Friday morning. But there was an altercation between LeBron James and Stephen A. Smith, where LeBron verbatim pretty much told Stephen A, keep my fucking son's name out of your mouth when you're talking about these kind of things. Stephen A. Smith has come out and claimed that he did not actually mean Bronny. He was speaking about LeBron James himself, and things got just misconstrued. But he does understand LeBron's heat and just absolute anger towards him for the situation, because obviously this was a situation that was well, if what Stephen A. Smith is claiming is true, is an absolute miscommunication. I wish I could play the soundbite for us, but I can't right now, obviously, through certain situations. But Kimball, have you seen this? Do you know what I'm speaking of? And do you have any thoughts on this? Because obviously, sometimes this is the sticky part of the situation, I feel, as a commentator, if you're Stephen A. Smith, not trying to defend him at all, but when your kid is in the league, it's much like if Ken Griffey Sr. ever went after somebody that talked ill of Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah.
Your son is in the league and is open to criticism from anybody.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I'm not sure of what the context of the situation was, but it seems to me like the situation has since blown over between the two of them, and they're back to being at least cordial professionally. But what are your thoughts on all of this? And like, I guess commentators,
you got to think about it.
Talking about kids.
Yeah, like over the years, LeBron has been in the league for what, almost 20 years now.
Yeah, and which is why we see Bronny in the league now with LeBron, and take that into consideration as well.
So, and Stephen A. Smith at times has been harshly critical of LeBron over the years, but nonetheless remained very professional and excuse me, and astute in his analysis of LeBron James's development over the years. Now, as LeBron James has matured into this person that we've seen, face of the NBA, global mogul, a brand ambassador, so to speak, that does not abstain you from the criticism that's based on your performance as a athlete, no matter what you have going on. Naturally. And his son is subject to the same criticism, but also him as a father. And I think it's because a lot of people don't see fathers in this day and age stand up for their children. Nonetheless, black men, black fathers in a high profile situation that I feel from just my eyes viewing and interpreting the energy coming off of the conversation that we don't know deeply what is really about. It was, you should know better, us being both black men, to put things in a position that they can be misinterpreted or feel like, come on, we should know better than to talk about each other like that. And this is where this gray area is, where as a commentator, it doesn't matter what color you are. When you're a journalist and you're reporting on sports, and when somebody's numbers are, when they're putting them up, that's your job to criticize that. I get that. But you don't bleed your personal relationship over into a professional one in front of people. And I think that because these dudes do have a personal friendship, relationship, business, whatever, throughout the years, that we seen a glimpse of that, and it got blown way out of proportion. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you're really talking to your friends and you don't care or feel like whoever's watching is around, you're not aware of that. You talk like men to each other. Yeah, fuck that, fuck this. Yeah, okay, whatever. Fuck this, fuck that. And we've seen a little bit of that. Now, of course, in this day and age, under a lens, the media is gonna blow that shit up. And what we got a piece of really was a little something personal about something professional. And that's it. And as just like you said, as it's moved on and been blown over and they're back to being cordial professionally with each other, I feel like this is the part of sports that we don't see between journalists and players. A lot of players have relationships with journalists, personal friends, college buddies, affiliates and associates of managerial and previous players that are introduced as good people to be around and somebody that you want reporting on your side for the media based on your performance and who you are as a personality. These things are important, but also they can be stretched and put under some duress in situations like this.
Right. And again, now this is all over The Athletic, and you can go read it for yourself. Apparently, there was something that was said on First Look that LeBron took as a slight against his son, Bronny. Again, Stephen A has come out and said, I was not talking about Bronny. I was talking about you, LeBron James, not Bronny James. But again, it's all been blown over and whatnot. But again, this is that sticky situation, though, that you have to take if you are a parent within this type of thing. Because, like, what if we said the same thing about LeVar Ball talking out against again, maybe Skip Bayless or Shannon Sharp, who was talking ill about Lonzo or LaMelo? You know what I mean? Like, I know it's not necessarily the same in terms of impact, but you as a parent have to know that if your son or daughter is in a professional sport, especially, or in any kind of light that puts him out there or her out there to be judged by others, you have to know that that is going to happen regardless. Now, I applaud LeBron James for standing up for his son because, like you said, we do not see that enough in this world. As a man that I honestly have no children, but I have nieces and nephews that I would gladly do the same thing for. I fully understand LeBron's anger and, want to shut up somebody who's potentially talking about his son. I don't think that was the actual slight, though, for Stephen A. Smith. I think this was all a misunderstanding, and obviously, hopefully, has grown and blown over. But I feel like if you're LeBron James, I'm sorry, speaking outside, and I'm not trying to criticize at all, but I feel like you got to grow a little bit more thicker skin in terms of this situation because Bronny, especially after you retire, and Bryce, when Bryce eventually hits the league,
Bryce is the beast,
are going to get ripped apart by media because you were ripped apart by media.
Yeah.
I mean, again, not saying that is your fault. It's just the unfortunate circumstances of a son, inheriting the sins of his father.
Everybody at that age and that stage in their career with a lot of potential expected from them has been under harsh and great criticism. Even Kobe, Garnett, McGrady.
I'd argue though that nobody has seen it worse than LeBron James.
Oh, definitely.
Nobody
Definitely.
in our generation, and honestly, we are in the generation. If you grew up, at least in my generation, your generation, you were born in the mid to late 80s, early 90s. You grew up in what I am honestly going to start referring to as the dynasty generation of sports. Yes. Everybody is looking to solidify themselves as a dynasty. You can thank Michael Jordan for that. Yeah. And honestly, at this point right now, if you do not solidify yourself and your team as a dynasty, you are not relevant as a GOAT of your sport. And at this point, I think that is where we are headed with all of this. And the LeBron James dynasty, as it will, always has had some sort of slight against it because it was always and forever will be compared to Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. If I'm being definitely honest, nobody ever really wants to make that argument, but it's true that Kobe gets compared to LeBron and Michael just as much now. And I am very much a supporter of what Shaquille O'Neal said on air the other day, that we need to start putting Stephen Curry in this conversation.
Definitely. Oh, definitely. Definitely.
You're talking about a GOAT. In my personal opinion, I've said this on the show a couple times now. You have to come at the top, or at least near the top, in certain criteria, which is you have to be the best at your position. If there's anybody that you could qualify that is better than you at your position, you are not the GOAT. I'm sorry. That goes without explaining.
Facts.
2, you have to have changed the game in some way or another. LeBron, Kobe, Mike, Shaq. Wilt, Bill, even at some point, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, all changed the game of basketball at some point. You can go further than that in other sports as well when it comes to Tom Brady, Joe Montana, all those guys as well. Whoever you want to, whatever sport you want to put in, Shohei Ohtani, Babe Ruth, all that type of shit. You have to have had an internal impact on the game. And I argue that in the last 20 years, even higher than and higher than LeBron, Steph Curry has impacted the game of basketball more than anyone on the planet. There are no longer kids running around playgrounds trying to drive to the hoop and pretend like they're dunking.
Everybody wants to be a mid-range god.
No, everybody wants to be a 3-point god. Everyone wants to be
Oh
Steph,
my
dog.
God. Yeah.
Steph Curry
from anywhere on the floor and make it look effortless.
Exactly. Steph Curry is giving little white boys like me hope that they can make it in the NBA because you can shoot a 3-pointer. That is what Steph Curry has done. If you are 6 foot to 6'3" and you can shoot a 3-pointer, you have hope because Steph Curry was a thing. That is all that I believe. And that's why I have to say, if you are looking at a Mount Rushmore of basketball now, and ever since like where we are in this generation,
you can add Steph Curry to that.
It has to be Steph. In my personal opinion, it's Mike, Kobe, LeBron, Steph. That's it. And I know that's a young head's opinion, and you can roast me in the comments all you want. Where the hell's Magic? Where the hell's Larry Bird? And I will take all the.
They're on the other Rushmore. They're on the previous side. They're on the other side.
But if we're talking about people who have impacted at least my life of basketball, I guess I would sub out, if anybody, I would sub out LeBron and Kobe for maybe Magic and Larry.
Okay.
I would sub those two out.
That's good. Really, that's a good one.
I think Steph has to stay up on that list now.
Yeah.
I think Steph has to stay up on the Rushmore, which means he's not. He is no lower than 4 and no higher than 2.
And you've got a different generation of basketball players. Yeah, we got our John Morants, but we don't have any Dennis Rodmans or really problematic players that are out there consuming media attention that's taking away from the team's focus. LeBron and Steph Curry are perfect examples of what the focus needs to be from a player of high caliber that is involved in this media just pool of sharks that surround professional sports entertainment within the NBA these days, man. And I think they've done a great job over the last 20 years. And you can't really fault how hard the criticism has been for LeBron. You can't be mad at it because you kind of seen it coming with all the comparisons to Kobe and Jordan very early in his career. But this man, every franchise he's gone to, he's gotten a championship.
Technically. Yeah.
Technically, yes. Now, that hasn't happened for everyone, but I say this in a key point of reference: the impact LeBron James has to a team, to a franchise, definitely yields championship caliber players being attracted there. Mm. It's Miami when he went back to Cleveland, LA.
Cleveland would not be the team it is today if LeBron didn't go back.
Exactly.
That is absolute facts. And honestly, Kyrie would not have stayed as long as he did. We never would have had Kevin Love. We would have had Andrew Wiggins instead. And I say we because I'm a diehard Cavaliers fan and have been since I can remember. But realistically, the team itself would not have the success it is having right now as the #1 team in the NBA and most likely the champion of the NBA. I don't give a damn what anybody says on ESPN. They could all ride with the Knicks as much they want to, or the Boston Celtics, or whomever you want. But you cannot sleep on a team like the Cleveland Cavaliers right now. And it's all because of situations that have happened in the past. But right now, I think that the NBA needs this. They need some sort of talking point because as a whole, the league's watchability has been dying over the years.
You know when the league was really, really fucking watchable? When Garnett, Paul Pierce,
and Ray Allen all
were on the Celtics, and they gave the Lakers a fucking shiner, bro.
I will say
that year they beat them up for that title. Oh my God. What was it? A season or two later, Kobe came back with like 30 more pounds of muscle. Paul Gasol was now not being called a soft ass bitch. Paul Gasol was being called a fucking beast down there, bro. And everybody around him has stepped their fucking game up after getting bodied out like that.
That's what I hate, though, is that everybody.
I miss that type of NBA, bro.
I do too, but that was also the beginning of super teams and all of that. And nobody ever wants to give Boston credit for that. Boston created the first super team. They did it a different way, but they did do it. They pulled off the KG Ray Allen trades, got that team the first ever big 3 just to beat Kobe Bryant and Pau Gasol. That was the whole reason that they put that together, was to compete for a championship and beat Kobe.
Yeah. Oh, you've got a big 2? Well, we'll get a big 3.
Exactly. As we always do, we'll give you a little bit more basketball as the week continues with big news coming next week. So I would look out in all of our videos for that. But
Wait a minute. One more thing.
You got a little more thing?
The NBA ain't been the same since they changed the John Tesh intro. Hey, did not know John Tesh did that shit. That
You know John Tesh did
that shit blew my fucking mind when I found that out, man. That was I said, John Tesh, you dirty son of a bitch, you dastardly dude. Props.
And you know what? I can't go that far, but I'm hoping with the moves in which that the NBA has made, keeping inside the NBA going, that's
Yeah.
going to be huge.
Hey, honestly, that's the most watchable shit right now
It is.
about the
It's
NBA.
the only one, and I am here for the smoke between Chuck and and Kendrick. I am here for it,
Man, bro.
I hope we get more of it because it's way too good to pass up on. It
definitely,
really
definitely.
So, all right, let's wrap up a little bit with a little bit of WWE stuff that we saw from over the week. Obviously, on Friday, since we talked a little bit on since Monday about what happened on Raw, we'll talk about what we saw on Friday. Biggest thing, in my personal opinion, we got the final answer from Naomi that she is the one who took out Jade Cargill, and Jade got her revenge. Now, we watched this together, my friend, as it
Can
was.
we get a golf clap on just that? That was just, oh my God. That was cinema. That was theater at its finest.
Again, these two women, Bianca and Naomi, I'm saying, because Jade has yet to talk at all since returning. I want to point out, or at least in a microphone. She was yelling at security guards very much at Elimination Chamber. But Bianca has really been showing her acting chops, dog. Like she's really she's auditioning for something. She wants to be in the next Tyler Perry movie. I guess.
Look. I was like, this is like Tubi movie quality, and then they stepped it up a little bit more because I was getting Waffle House meme flashbacks with all the violence going on and shit like that. But all jokes aside, this was almost reminiscent to a female bloodline angle because it drew you in. The crowd was sucked in. You could hear everything in that damn arena between this conversation. And usually watching women bicker on TV is a reality TV show type of drama spiel that most men would tune out of. But because of the storyline being so perfectly woven with who did this, the titles being in jeopardy, Naomi sliding in. It's of course. This is our soap opera shit, man.
Exactly.
This is honestly
the soap opera part that we live for. This is the story driven shit.
This is what makes the matches butter, baby.
Absolutely.
So when we finally got the reveal without any shenanigans or bullshit, and I did it, stood on business. It reminded you of I did it for The Rock, did it for the people. She is a Fatu, so she was probably giving a shout out to Rikishi for that. However it is, it worked out great. Now, when she said, this is what I think most people missed. She said, I did it for you, remember? And Bianca cut that shit off and was like, Now, what
I didn't hear the remember part.
Yes. Now, what if we get down the line that Bianca is the one that told her to kind of do this shit and then, turned her back on her in front of everybody? That opens up the storyline even deeper because we don't know how Bianca and Jade are going to reconcile, or even if they do. In the meanwhile, we're going to get this Naomi that goes on a revenge tour, I would hope, because of the fact that she just got squashed twice by Jade. So what's the point of having them continue to feud if she's already taken out her physical retribution on her, unless she's going to continue to do this over and over, which at some point we got to have this match blow off. It's got to build up, blow off, and then we go to the other one. Me personally, I would have kind of had Naomi really do the heel thing and escape Jade this time and kind of drag it out a little bit, but that also worked for me too, seeing that happen right there on the spot and having me wonder what's going to happen in the future. I believe you spoke of potentially us getting a four-way if Jade interjects herself into this title match, and turn that over to you so you can break that theory down.
I have since evolved that thought because actually I'm glad you brought up the entire idea or the thought process that Jade has now taken Naomi out twice. And if you are a fan of WWE or wrestling, you know what usually that means in terms of unspoken rules. There will be no feud. There will be no feud between Jade and Naomi. If there was, Naomi would have ran. And they would have drawn it out a little bit. You probably would have got a little bit of talking from Jade to call her out and all of that. So I don't think we're getting that. However, what we are or potentially may get, because I do want more of a fatal four-way clash between Io, Rhea Ripley, Bianca, and Jade, but I don't think they're going to go that route because it kind of goes against the tradition of how they usually do the Elimination Chamber winner and all of this. However, you actually brought up an interesting point because I missed the remember part. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that again and see if I can pick up on that. Because if you did pick up on that and that is true, that was not said for no reason whatsoever. And that means to me,
especially when you look at the contents of how they did their body language.
Right. And hold on, before we get to that, because I'm gonna
go ahead.
What if Bianca uses Jade to help her in this match against Io, which would then be intercepted by Rhea, who obviously we have seen, at least in the last couple of months, there is some sort of mutual respect, at least, between Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. Rhea was not mad that Io beat her. Rhea was pissed that Bianca got in the way.
Yes.
That's
oh my
who she was
God.
cussing.
Hey, what if, with everything that's just been said by Naomi about how she was tired of watching Jade coattail ride Bianca's success and hard work and foundation that she laid for, what if
that is to be believed.
What if this is all setting us up for, like what you said, Jade comes in to help Bianca win this title and she ends up as Bianca's muscle?
No, that's what I'm thinking. That's exactly what I'm thinking.
But eventually that leads to, of course, a betrayal. And that's how we get the title onto Jade.
I could see that, but I'm starting to believe that Triple H may actually take this more into a Jade gets a mid-card title first.
I would hope so.
Does it a more traditional way. Because let's also take into account that these mid-card titles for the women have only stayed on one person since being and really haven't had a very strong storyline on either
end.
And
I just want to go on record and say something right now. I know it was all about Chelsea Green being the fucking U.S. title first women
as a Canadian.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
Run with that.
Her personality and everything is great, but the matches aren't there enough for me. I'm tired of seeing the meet.
I don't think that's Chelsea's fault though.
It's not. It's the booking.
Have an idea exactly of the booking of how they want to go about this. Who's a mid-card threat?
Yeah, the Lyra Valkyria reign is turning out okay because her work rate with matches looks great on TV.
Right.
It really does.
Even then, if you really think about it, she hasn't even had that many.
The
only ones that she's had are against Dakota Kai.
Yeah.
And now, and I guess Ivy Nile now, if you really want.
Yeah, we're starting to get some feuds to showcase that women's title, those women's mid-card belts on television a lot more. And eventually, I really do hope it leads to Jade somehow running into Chelsea, and we get this match down the line for a U.S. women's title match between Jade and Chelsea, which we know we're gonna have some shenanigans and schnozzes from Piper Niven involved, but also, Piper versus Jade would be a good one too, because it would showcase her strength, and she's working with somebody who's just as strong and safe. So,
and they've gone against each other in the past too, so they're a little familiar with each other's game. And I think you're right. I think that they being giant, or I shouldn't call them giants, but being the powerhouses that they are, it would be they
pretty much are giants in the women's division, though. You are
absolutely.
Yeah, they do tower above,
because obviously, we're not going to go that route.
Yeah.
But, no, I could see why you would want to go that route. I just don't know if we're gonna get that anytime soon, especially if we get a mutual agreement between Jade and Bianca going forward.
Yeah.
And let me use the Judgment Day as an example. We have yet to see Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez have that happen. And realistically speaking, in terms of how long these things usually last, you would have seen it happen when Liv had the championship. So I'm thinking we're not going to get a lot of that kind of mutual separation from every angle of every storyline. I think that they are going to build something here between Jade and Bianca at least and go forward all of it. But
I smell what you're cooking. I smell what you're cooking.
And
let him cook. Let him cook.
It just makes sense to me that they're going to keep it going, because why have all of this build up and all of that just to have them, or just to have Jade betray her when she gets the championship. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't really add up to me. I see potentially Bianca betraying Jade at some point down the line after winning the championship, and essentially, I don't know, using Jade as fodder is the best way to put it, as they kind of do with some other people. And I loved the idea that we got from our guy Buddha, that potentially Bianca joins Montez and Angelo on their entire tour of potential.
Shout out to Buddha Bless. Hey,
absolutely.
Love your comment, man.
Get some gold in going for the Street Profits and whatever faction they would create. But I don't know, man. I like this this little camaraderie between Bianca and Jaden. I don't think we're done with it. I think the fan base is really like that. They are both very similar, but at the same time different in the way they present their strengths. And I like that. I think Bianca is the much more athletic part to the team. And I think she gets to utilize that a lot more when she is with Jade than when she is with Naomi, because obviously you need her in a different light when you put the
the comparison on that whole team with Bianca and Jade, like you said, Jade is more of the powerhouse that does have athleticism, where Bianca comes in with the predominant athleticism. Versus when she's teamed with Naomi is now the athletic and one with speed more so, and agility, and then that shifts the powerhouse
Bianca
into, exactly. The powerhouse mode taken from Bianca. Yes,
you can show that how different Bianca is, because for a long time Bianca and Rhea were kind of in the same boat. Like they were both powerhouses, but
like you can't beat them. There's no possible way for people to believe that you beat them straight up.
Exactly. But if you, I don't want to say make Bianca look smaller, because that's not the right word or words to say, but if you make her look more athletic, more speedy, you can at least put that guise over some people's eyes going forward in storylines, that maybe Bianca is beatable in a sense of there are bigger fish in the pond. And I can go further in this when it comes to a lot of other people, because I think Alexa Bliss might actually be inserted into this with the Wyatt Six at some point. I will not go further into that because we don't have a whole ton of time, and we got to get to our last points here. One last point when it comes to WWE, and then we'll get to our final talks about Harley Cameron, because I love her to death, and I am so ashamed of what the hell they're having my ladies do over there at AEW. But WWE wise, some stuff came out online that I kind of want to get your opinion on, Mr. Kimball, because I don't know exactly how I feel about all of this. Carmella, WWE superstar and wife of Corey Graves, came out on Twitter and says that the WWE is punishing her for having a child and going on maternity leave. Or at least not exactly in those words, but pretty dang close. I can't see that being the case. I don't know about you. I'll open the floor for you in a minute, but I'll get my 2 cents out here. Knowing how Paul Levesque has been in the last couple of years, and very family oriented, very much on the sign of take time off, go see your family, go and work on your health. I can't see that being the case of why Carmella is being quote unquote punished for going and having a child, especially when we've seen multiple superstars in the past year alone, if not 2 years, have children and come back, including Alexa Bliss. I think, and again, not trying to cast aspersions or anything, but if Carmella was being punished for anything, and again, I don't think it's Carmella's fault she's being punished for anything, I think it would probably stem more from the relationship between Corey Graves and the WWE, and how shaky that has been since the move back in of Pat McAfee into the fold of the commentating team, and his move and quote unquote demotion in his eyes on Twitter to NXT. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
I seen an article come out where Carmella revised that statement that was taken out of context.
And I'm sure it was.
It was a portion. It was a portion of the interview where she said she felt like. Okay, well, feelings aren't fact. And fact of the matter is, when you're in the public eye, despite what you feel, you have to watch what you say, because sound bites are a motherfucker. This sound bite was the only thing taken from this interview that made any headway online. Okay, that's the shitty part about this. On top of that, Corey Graves' situation does not help your standings within the company when it comes time to renegotiation. And she says she was ghosted. Well, really, if you're handling your own business or if your agent didn't handle on and you couldn't get a call back, that should be a sign right there that your contract is not renewable for certain reasons, possibly based on your previous performance, history of injuries, being injury prone, having heat. A lot of things could have added into this, but one thing that didn't happen is you being punished for having a child. And this current regime of family-friendly WWE behind the scenes with all the reports and people who know people there and things that we read upon, I'm sorry, I cannot in all good conscience have any fathom of an idea why you would think that would be smart to say when at a time people get released from WWE and come back just like that all the fucking time. Because somebody sometimes doesn't see who's on the list and they just let people go because of contracts being up for a renegotiation. But also, this is the thing we don't know. Some of those contracts have to expire for them to be revised. They cannot still be revised while under contract. So that shit comes out. The media's like, oh, this person got let go, this and that. Da, 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 da. We just seen Alba Fire return. Like, come on. Come on, man. Like, hey, gone yesterday, back next week type of situation.
Which is it also funny to anybody else that all of Chelsea Green's Secret Service are Scottish?
I'm just saying. I love the fact that she came out this week dressed like Cactus Jack. That was fucking awesome.
She did.
That was fucking awesome. That's what I'm saying.
Anyways,
but yeah, like she should have been more aware and conscious of what statements and how she felt about speaking about a company that still she was with for 12 years. She said everything that was taken out of the context with the excerpt of "I felt" before it was used. Now, like I say, feelings are not facts. You should have known with 12 years given to that company and the relationships that you have, you couldn't still come back in some type of way. Now, if you're still trying to stay in the business, TNA might not even touch you. And that would have been a perfect place for you to go. So where you going to go? AEW? You going to go to MLW? You going to do some other shit? You know what I'm saying? Or you just going to, kick back and hopefully we see Corey Graves on SmackDown one day again or something.
I did. Well, see, and that's the problem that I'm seeing here. Because if she does move to a different company, I feel like he moves too. And honestly, at this point, if Corey Graves packed up and moved out of NXT and maybe went to AEW following,
that's a step up.
He would be the best commentator on that board for sure.
Yes, 1,000%. Definitely. Because honestly,
whether
Taz,
JR would let him or not.
Yeah, him, Taz, and whoever else, honestly, just get Tony Schiavone out. I don't know. I think Tony Schiavone is drunk all the time. Man.
No, I think you're right.
I think he's drunk. Because
before we get into that, because let me get my 2 cents out because we got a couple minutes left here, and
they can find the Tony Schiavone drunk clips on Instagram. Absolutely. That's for later.
But I think that I have to agree with you. I don't see it being a viable argument that she's being punished for having a child. That doesn't make sense to me, especially with the regime and how they're handling things now. I think it's more liable because, let's think of it this way. Sonya Deville, Indy Hartwell, Isla Dawn, like the list goes on and on of all the women that have been let go from the WWE in the past year to make room for the Stephanie Vaquers, the Julias, the CM Punk coming back, all of that, all the moves that have since been made. Can you honestly say Carmella is that much better than any of the people who have come in? I say no. I say none of them really would argue, or no fan of the WWE would argue that you would rather have Carmella over a Stephanie Vaquer or a Zarya or whomever.
Let me just say this:
a Ricky Saints.
If you had to choose Carmella or Jade Cargill, who are you choosing?
Jade Cargill.
Thank you very much.
Jade Cargill every day of the week. And again, it's not saying that Carmella does not deserve respect. She's a champion in her own right.
Hey, yes,
has had some very, very memorable moments in the WWE. That
saying this with all due respect, with all respect.
But much like Sonya Deville and a lot of these other women, it just may be time to move on for a while and do what a lot of these other women are doing, including Indy Hartwell, who has just come back to the fold in the indie wrestling game, and do something about it in terms of that and try to build yourself and bet on yourself. I think that's just the name of the game now in the wrestling world. And I know I keep saying it, but realistically at this point, that's going to happen to, I would say, about 90% of wrestlers. If you're a professional wrestler in the game going forward, you are going to work for all or most of these companies, if not all of them.
Cody Rhodes.
Cody, I mean, regardless of that, you look at a lot of these other guys who are in AEW currently, which is it's not going anywhere. Whether you hate it or love it, it's not going anywhere.
Whether people watch it or not, it's not going anywhere.
Tony Khan loves this, has the money to sustain it, and they have a TV rights deal that just got signed that's ridiculous money. So they could not care less what anybody thinks about it, including us. But realistically speaking, right now, if you were a wrestler, if you're a professional wrestler, more than likely throughout your career, you are going to work for WWE, AEW, TNA, wherever. You're going to work for multiple companies, and that's going to be okay. So I don't think Carmella's I am glad that she's come out and tightened up her words, saying they were taken out of context. And I'm sure they were. That happens all the time in the world of media. But realistically speaking, I'm also with you. I don't see why you would even fathom putting those words together, because you know they're not true. Alexa Bliss, Becky Lynch, many of these women have left to go have kids. Bianca Belair talked about it all throughout that stupid show that her and Montez did a year ago on USA. They are all for you taking a break and going, having kids and being with your family. It is a way different type of wrestling now than it was back in the day. And I just can't see that being a thing.
And also, you got to think about this. 20 years ago, all those wrestlers that had kids that are still in the business, now their kids are in the business. So why not pull from the crop internally? You see Devon Dudley's fucking kids? They're huge Mark right Henry, now.
Kevin Owens' son is about the size of Omos.
Bro, like we're seeing a whole flood.
And let's be honest.
And we're still waiting on Zilla.
The best wrestlers in the WWE have been and continue to be generational wrestlers. Outside of guys like Stone Cold Steve Austin, vast majority of the successful wrestlers in the WWE have been born and bred in the WWE. And I think that's a formula that's just going to keep cycling and continuing. I said it yesterday during our stream, talking about the bloodline and during the showcase mode. I just don't see that changing anytime soon.
But even in the women's,
And just to wrap this up in the last 5 minutes we got here, my friend, obviously we teased it at the beginning of this video, but we have to talk about it because I love her so goddamn much. And I hate that we just saw arguably the ugliest finishing move of all time. Harley Cameron debuted her finishing move yesterday.
And it's called the finishing move.
Well, I was just about to bring that up, my friend, because I mean, we could sit here and explain it to you. I wish I could show a video because it would be so much more comedic for everybody to watch. Okay, but it was I
got a reference point for people to watch. Okay. Byron Saxton, you know him as an announcer. He used to do a very sloppy version of the Overdrive, which used to be Randy Orton's finisher.
Okay, I was trying to figure out what move she was trying to do.
And then he tried to do like a swinging neck breaker version of that move. And let me tell you, it was one of the worst finishers I've ever seen to this day until that shit.
You know what? That's fair. That's absolutely fair. You know what? I've never really compared Saxton's finisher to Randy Orton's, though. That is true. It is absolutely close.
It was bad. It was really
this
really
one
bad.
Is unique.
They told him to stop doing that shit.
Though I don't know if there's any move I've ever seen that's like this. It was like a spinning neck breaker that wasn't. I'm not sure exactly what it's supposed to be. However, with the final couple minutes we have here, my friend, what is your if you could change the name of Harley Cameron's finishing move? What should she actually name this move? Because the finishing move is not, I mean, it fits her character, don't get me wrong, because Harley is Harley, and Harley is very ditzy, and I love that. But I am not sure if that's going to stick. So let's help Harley name her finisher real quick.
My first name would probably be the Drizzling Shits.
Oh, come on. Take it seriously.
The second would have to be the Muppet Breaker, you know, because Yeah, because he's doing that one. My third one would have to be the My Brown Pants. Yeah, and the last one I would have to say is just what the fuck, the WTF. The what the fuck was that? Like, that's what I'd have to call it, the WTF, because you're wondering what the fuck do you call that? What the fuck
Well, I
is
mean, hey,
that?
John
You know?
Cena, I'm cool with the WTF. We could call
Yeah,
it WTF.
I'm with the WTF.
I'm a firm believer if John Cena is going to be a heel again, we need to start calling the AA the FU again.
Yeah.
I am firm believer
Yeah,
of that.
that
And the
part.
STFU. It's no longer the STF. It's the
Yeah.
STFU and always has been and always will be.
Yeah, yeah.
Personally, as a fan of AEW and a fan of Harley Cameron's, I'm going to say she needs to nickname it, or at least change the name to just The Wrath. If we're going to be running around feeling the wrath, you might as well have something called The Wrath. So I think The Wrath is probably the best name for Harley Cameron's hopefully changed and adapted finishing move going forward.
I'm going with WTF.
WTF. Okay, you tell us in the comments what would be the best name, and maybe a different acronym for WTF that includes The Wrath. I mean, well, you guys tell us. But thank you so much for listening. As always, Kimball, thank you for your time.
No doubt, man.
Once again, look out for more videos going forward. And as you see behind me and behind my shoulder, look out for some big news coming out from the Early Bird Special crew. We got some big news we are very excited to share, especially if you're in the Bakersfield area. Look out for that on our social medias and our listening audiences. Look out for it on our podcast. I'm not sure exactly when we will make the announcement, but just check out every video and then you'll be well informed. But thank you once again, Kimball, for your time, my friend. As always, thank you all for listening. Like, share, subscribe, send to your friends, all of that type of shit. We love doing what we do, and it's because of you that we get to keep doing it. So with that, all that said, we will catch you in the next video.
One word. 4 letters. Yeet. Yeet. We out.